We've gone through the source material, so you don't have to. And today, well, today we're peeling back the layers on some of New York City's most legendary and sometimes, yeah, infamous recording studios. We're diving into 3 specific addresses in Manhattan. These places, they're less about the actual buildings, the architecture, and much more about the music history, sometimes tragedy, and just the constant churn of sound creation.
That's exactly it. We've got some really rich sources focusing on these 3 spots, and our aim really is to help you understand not just where the iconic music got made, but also the cultural weight these places carry.
Right.
And maybe most surprisingly, what's actually happening there now. It's sort of a case study in how creative history hangs on in a city that's always changing.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where should we start? Maybe with a place that seems to have really figured out how to thrive today. I'm thinking the Cutting Room Studios.
Yeah, the cutting room is a great starting point. It's kind of a blueprint for how a studio stays versatile, stays relevant. You'll find it at 14 East 4th Street, up on the 6th floor, number 602.
Right.
And it's in the historic Silk Building, right there in NoHo, kind of bordering Greenwich Village.
Gotcha. And, for anyone familiar with the New York music scene, we probably need to make a distinction right away. The sources are really clear on this. This is the high-end recording studio. It was founded way back in '95 by David Croffa. It's totally separate, functionally speaking, from that live music venue in Midtown with a similar name.
Right, the Chris Noth place. Yeah, totally different thing. This
Yeah.
is where the albums actually get engineered, mixed. The serious production work happens.
Exactly.
And its survival really comes down to, well, adaptability. I mean, yes, it's still a top-tier place for recording and mixing music, but its relevance now, it hinges on being broader than that.
How so?
Well, they've jumped heavily into services that are critical for how we listen today. Like, they offer Dolby Atmos production, which is a huge draw right now, right? Because you need that for the immersive spatial audio on all the big streaming platforms.
So it's not just about recording a great track anymore. You've got to format it for spatial audio if you want to compete. Makes sense. And is that it?
No, not at all. The sources point out they've also moved significantly into audio post-production, so sound for film and TV.
Okay.
And interestingly, podcast and audiobook recording, too.
Huh. So it's like this blend of art and commerce almost.
You can say that. It's a sign of, digital survival. Putting high-fidelity music production for someone like, say, Cardi B or AAP Rocky right alongside making money from podcasts or audiobooks shows a necessary shift.
Yeah.
The business model has to embrace all this different content now, not just the traditional album cycle.
And that client list really underlines this scope, doesn't it? You got these huge contemporary artists, Cardi B, Lana Del Rey, AAP Rocky, HER. They're working in the same rooms where people like John Legend, David Byrne,
Yeah.
even the producer Sophie crafted their sounds.
Exactly. It's a hub that, respects its past, but is very much focused on today's market.
So the common thread is just high-quality audio engineering, regardless of the final product.
Pretty much. Whether it's a pop mega hit needing that perfect mix or, crystal clear voice capture for a movie, they offer the whole package, technologically speaking, and that keeps them competitive in Manhattan.
Okay, so let's shift gears. From a studio really built for now, let's go to an address that's maybe burdened or blessed by some really deep history. We're heading to 52 West 8th Street.
Yeah.
A place with a profound past and, honestly, a pretty wild present. This is where that New York contrast really hits you.
Oh, absolutely. 52 West 8th Street. I mean, any real music fan hears that address and immediately thinks Electric Lady Studios, Greenwich Village icon.
One of the most famous studios in the world.
And one of the most, romantic and also heartbreaking origin stories in rock music.
Yeah, it was Jimi Hendrix's baby, wasn't it? He poured a ton of money and energy into building it, wanted his own creative space like a sanctuary.
Exactly. Free from the usual commercial studio constraints. A place designed purely for his music. The sources talk about the intent behind it. He wanted the studio to be like an extension of his creativity.
Right.
That's why it had that distinctive, almost psychedelic design.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
But the timing, it's just brutal.
It really is. Electric Lady officially opened its doors on August 26th, 1970.
And Hendrix died, less than a month later, September 18th?
Weeks. He barely got to see his vision realized.
It's unbelievable. The entire legacy of this iconic place is built on a dream he hardly experienced. But of course, since then, countless huge artists recorded there, keeping that legacy alive.
That's the spiritual foundation of the place. Now, let's talk about what's actually at that address today.
On the street level.
Right. This is the kicker.
According to the sources, the building itself currently houses Mount Sinai Doctors West 8th Street.
Yeah, you heard that correctly. The place where rock gods walked now has people coming in for medical checkups.
The services listed are things like primary care, family medicine, gynecology, sports medicine.
It really hammers home how quickly history gets sort of absorbed or paved over in Manhattan. But the sources are careful to point out...
The studio's still there, right?
Exactly. While the main entrance for the doctor's office is 52 West 8th Street, the studio itself, where that history is honored and, music is still being made every day, it's located down in the basement.
That contrast is just, wow. It makes you pause, doesn't it? Upstairs, people getting prescriptions filled, talking about preventative care. And downstairs, separated by just a floor, you got the echoes of classic rock. And who knows what new sounds being created. The cultural weight is still there, but the street-level function is, well, healthcare now.
It's kind of the ultimate statement on New York City real estate, isn't it? History often gets pushed downstairs, literally, to make way for whatever the most necessary or profitable use is at the moment. In this case, medicine.
Okay, moving to our third spot. And this one carries a, let's say, significantly different kind of cultural weight. We're going to 723 7th Avenue, up on the 10th floor. Smack in the middle of Times Square. This is Quad Recording Studio.
Right, Quad. That's a giant in the industry. Yep. It's easily one of New York's most famous, most historically significant studios. For decades, it's been central to hip-hop, R&B, pop.
It still is, right? Still a top-tier place.
Absolutely. It pulls in the biggest names consistently.
The client list is just huge. We're talking Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar, Lil Nas X, Post Malone, Mariah Carey.
And newer huge acts, too, like Pop Smoke recorded there, Cardi B again. I mean, this is where the music that dominates global charts gets made. Polished, finished.
But yes, there's another side to Quad's thing, isn't there? For a lot of people, it's known just as much for its hits as it is for, well, its connection to a really pivotal, really violent moment in hip-hop.
Yeah. You can't talk about Quad without talking about the 1994 Tupac Shakur shooting. It happened right there.
In the building lobby, correct.
That's right. November 30th, 1994. Tupac was on his way up to a session at Quad. He got shot 5 times, robbed, right there in the lobby of 723 7th Avenue.
And the context around it just elevates the tragedy into something else.
Totally. Sean Puffy Combs and the Notorious B.I.G., they were already upstairs in a session at Quad when the shooting happened down below.
Wow.
And Tupac survived miraculously. But he immediately, very publicly, accused them of setting him up.
Right.
And that accusation, it basically weaponized the whole incident. It turned what could have been, a contained awful crime into the spark, the defining spark, many say, for that whole destructive East Coast versus West Coast hip-hop feud in the mid-90s.
So the violence literally in the lobby ended up sort of defining the sound and the tension of an entire era.
You could argue that, yeah. It cast a long shadow.
So given that Quad is still operating at such a high level today, how do the sources say they handle that history? Is it part of the studio's identity now, or is it something they try to downplay?
Well, what's fascinating is the duality, really. The music business is relentless, right?
Yeah.
You need the best tech, the best security, the best engineers.
Sure.
The sources suggest that while everyone knows the history, it's part of its global significance, you can't erase it. The studio itself has to remain focused on enabling today's hits, on commercial success now.
So it just coexists.
It seems so. It maintains its status as this elite facility despite that heavy history, or maybe even partly because of it. It gives it a certain gravity. The place is simultaneously a hit factory and a kind of monument to a really traumatic moment in music culture.
Okay. So let's try and tie these 3 locations together. We've looked at 3 spots, all within, a relatively small area of Manhattan.
Yeah, pretty close geographically.
And each tells a really powerful story about creation, history, consequence. What's the thread connecting them?
I think the main thread is just the persistence of culture creation, often in really surprising or even contested spaces. These 3 places show how musical genius finds ways to adapt and survive. It adapts by embracing new tech, new revenue streams like we saw at the Cutting Room. It persists almost spiritually, carrying Hendrix's vision forward from the basement of a doctor's office at Electric Lady's original site.
Yeah.
And it somehow absorbs and moves forward from trauma, like at Quad, remaining this powerful engine for hits despite the violence associated with its lobby. musical creation just finds a way.
It's pretty incredible when you think about the sheer density of music history packed into just those few city blocks. From David Byrne and Jimi Hendrix to Cardi B and Kendrick Lamar, all happening there. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the addresses where so much of New York's sound was forged.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. And maybe as you think about these studios still thriving today, it raises a kind of interesting final question.
Oh.
When music history gets so deeply embedded in specific physical places, like these places that saw genres born or witnessed tragedy or massive success, how much does that legacy, the good and the bad, actually influence the sound or maybe even the success of the next wave of artists who choose to record there?
Hmm.
Is the music ever truly separate from the history that's soaked into the walls? Something to think about.